Good morning and welcome to today's first workshop session, From Fear to Future, Engaging Your Teams with AI. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm delighted and honored to be on stage today with both Sharon and Yogesh from the Athenaeum Hotel and Residences. It's just over a year that we've been working together on the HiJiffy project, and I couldn't be more pleased to have you on stage with me today. So thank you so much. Without further ado, I'll just hand over to Sharon. Please do introduce yourself to the audience today as well.
Well, hello, I'm Sharon. I am the Director of Operations at the Athenaeum. So in short, my role is to take care of everything that affects the guest experience on their stay.
And Yogesh?
Can I just say it's amazing to see so many people in the room today. We're clearly, as an industry, not fed up with the buzzword of AI, so hopefully we'll share some good insights with you today. I head up marketing and commercial insights at the hotel, and that's through activations of guest data to better target, to increase guest satisfaction. And that's all enabled through something called a customer data platform, which I'll speak to a bit later on today.
Fantastic. And for those of you who don't know me or who haven't received my emails, I'm Sean, Country Lead for the UK and Ireland at HiJiffy. HiJiffy as well, guest communication hub for the hospitality sector. Our primary objective remains the same, to connect travelers with their destination of choice through conversational AI. And we've incorporated the best in class in AI to deliver increased booking opportunities, upselling opportunities, and really enhance the customer experience from pre-booking phase through to departure. So that's enough of me. Obviously, we need to really focus on today's topic, from fear to future, and how we can engage your teams with AI as well. So it's going to be a really engaging session. That's why we got our little emojis up there. So feel free to just take notes as you go along, but you'll also be able to see the questions that I'm going to be running through so that you can just pull out your cell phone if need be, but as well keep track of where we are in today's discussion as well. So starting off with, I'd love to start off with yourself, Sharon, but we've encountered a lot of hesitation towards incorporating a new tool in the everyday work mix. I think a lot of teams are always reluctant to take on new tech. They're usually not informed about the certain tech they might have to take on, but there's this reluctance and fear towards it. Is that something you've encountered?
Yes, there is. I mean, there's always excitement if the system fixes a problem, but there is always a little bit of apprehension as well. Is the system actually going to be double work? Is it going to work with the other systems that we have? Is it going to do what it says it's going to do? How much more learning do I have to do on the system? So yeah, there is a little bit of apprehension every single time we ask the team to learn a new system.
Perfect. And I think that's the really important thing, is that there is this apprehension and there is a more positive approach towards taking on the new tech, but they need that guidance and support, and that's why exactly we decided to have Yogesh and Sharon up on stage today, because they work hand in hand with vendors, but as well on the operational side of things too. Looking at it from a different standpoint, Yogesh, I'm really keen to zoom out a little here and look at skepticism towards the application of AI in hospitality. You obviously mentioned it being a buzzword, but is it overused, or do you still see a lot of skepticism across the sector, not just at the Athenaeum?
Well, I mean, look, we're always looking for the next innovation that's going to drive revenue or guest satisfaction. And it's not going to be the next gimmick or these, sort of marketing widgets if you're just jumping on the AI bandwave, because, in this space, we have a lot of systems in our hotels and a lot of disconnected systems. And so if we just adopt another new system without addressing a use case or a problem that we're trying to solve, then we're adding more complexity into the picture. And so we really understood at the hotel that we needed to understand our guests better in order to speak to them differently. And you want to use AI to really do the groundwork for you, do the legwork, and use AI in a meaningful way. And so that could be in marketing, for example, to get to the utopia of hyper-personalized guest communication and be on the right channels to talk to those guests. And so that could be email, it could be your ads, and it could be your chat platforms as well.
Perfect. Really good points that you mentioned there. And I think now we really need to look at this from a different perspective. We've had a lot of talks already this morning on staff shortages. I think that is still the biggest challenge when looking at the adoption of new technology. It's how you can empower your teams. But what have the staff actually reported, or hotel teams actually reported? So the industry has taken a big hit. During the pandemic, we obviously saw a lot of furloughs, a lot of staff left the industry, where there was hope for those team members to come back. That wasn't the case, actually. Post-pandemic world saw a lot of hoteliers leave the industry and not come back and look for the 9-to-5 jobs. More importantly, when you look at managers reporting burnout, that should be a red flag for all sort of operational directors, managers in the room today, because they are your face of your hotel. They are engaging with your guests on a regular basis, and it's important that they're able to manage their workload, they're able to pick up on, are guests seeing more of a longer waiting time, or is there a decline in the service quality? But more importantly, and we still need to pay attention to this today, it's that 10 to 20% of the workforce that is still missing, and we're really trying to have a balancing act going here and make sure that we're still delivering the same experience and still enhancing the customer experience to some extent. And from our perspective, we really feel that's the opportunity for AI technology to actually bridge that gap. And if there's going to be an increase in staff wages of 6.7%, for example, then do you necessarily need new team members, or is there ways that you can actually empower the existing members of the team with technology? So looking at it from a different stance now, why does AI adoption by hotel staff remain a challenge, and is there a key negative factor? I think here I'd like to really unpick exactly what AI is, first and foremost. AI, firstly, is the ability for a machine to perform tasks that were typically performed by a human. So naturally, there is going to be that fear of potentially AI taking over jobs in hospitality. Now, that's not what we're really doing here. We're not looking to replace any team members. But where it gets even more scary is generative AI. And we've all seen generative AI, how it's evolved. Many of you today in the room will probably have the OpenAI app, travel with it, ask it questions, and so on. And that's the ability for AI to really, based on data, curate new and existing data. And that could be through images, marketing material, PowerPoint presentations, you name it. And from our perspective, within conversational AI, that's the ability for us to be more conversational with guests. So there is this opportunity then to empower your teams with a platform that can really take away from the mundane requests, so to speak. Okay? And looking at this now from more taking an observation towards what's happening in the industry and that potential fear, Sharon, I'd be keen to understand from yourself now, what observations have you seen regarding the fear of AI in the industry? And more importantly, has there been any fear or skepticism amongst the team itself?
I can't speak for any other hotels, but at least in my hotel and in the luxury sector, I don't think there's a fear of AI taking over roles. No one really expects R2-D2 to check them in. We still need that personal touch. Where I think the skepticism among the hotel staff is how is that going to affect the guest journey? Is the guest going to get frustrated because the bot can't answer their questions and it's taking too long to find a human? Or is the bot going to say something that actually, yes, it can provide this, but we can't provide this, or it's promised something that we haven't delivered? And so there's that skepticism and that fear of actually making it worse for the guest by having a bot. So I don't think that we're going to replace the jobs. We need the people, we need the touch, but yes, there are some concerns over it.
Very good points there. And it's something that we encounter a lot from a vendor perspective is, yes, we're not looking at jeopardizing the guest experience. Obviously, when we're looking at the luxury segment, each hotel is totally different in the way they operate, and it's really important that the solution covers a challenge or a need within the segment rather than replacing or being disruptive in the segment as well. Okay. Looking at some of the metrics then, so obviously here when empowering the Athenaeum team with HiJiffy's conversational AI platform, we were obviously dealing with a certain amount of challenges that was presented to us from both Yogesh and Sharon's side here. And what essentially we were looking at doing is obviously first and foremost, strong automation rates, conversations, over 4,000 conversations in 12 months. Now this is just a 12-month metric for you to have an idea. That's a conversation is the minute a user has a chat over 3 Q&As, okay? So it gives you an idea that that's 4,000 users that have had engagements across multiple chat points there, and 94% of the conversations have been automated. That's in the luxury segment. So you can imagine now that, yes, guests are taking it on board, guests are using it as well, and only 6% of the conversations have fallen back to a live chat agent environment, where we then converted £82,000 in chat-based bookings. Now that's automated bookings as well through chat. And then last and least, what you can see there is the top FAQs. Perhaps, Sharon, you've picked up on those and noticed where the questions are coming from?
Yeah, it's actually quite good because you can see what people are asking about. I can't ask my switchboard guy to write down the answer or what he's been asked every single time, but I can easily go into the report and see what people are asking. So if people are asking more about the spa or F&B, I know what's being targeted and I know what people want to know the answers to. That gives me loads to market, that gives me loads to work with. So it's actually really helpful in that sense.
Perfect. And maybe Yogesh, what are your takes on the metrics that you've achieved with us?
So, I mean, there's 2 really specific use cases that I can speak to. The first one is when we initially approached HiJiffy. So we were implementing a hotel app to facilitate in-room ordering, things like room service, a guest directory, viewing menus, and some marketing activities as well. And the app that we were using had a guest communication piece within the application, but actually didn't give us the robustness that we needed in order to talk to our guests. And so we took this use case to HiJiffy, and we quickly got to a solution on how to integrate and how to roll out, which I was quite impressed with. And then kind of looking kind of further afield, and we started to realize that actually there's other benefits that we can gain from that. So you've got the pre-stay booking experience, which is a chatbot on our website, which then can help facilitate bookings and increase conversion. And then you've got the in-stay experience, which is then things like WhatsApp. And the second use case really for us, what we're exploring at the moment, is that our sales team have conversations with a very specific market that we have in our hotel. And that market is very comfortable with using WhatsApp on day-to-day communications, replacing things like business emails with WhatsApp. And our sales team are talking to them all the time, having sales conversations. And then as soon as that turns into an inquiry for a booking, it's difficult to take it from a mobile phone then into the reservations team. So we're exploring the idea of bringing all of that communication into HiJiffy as a platform, so then we can filter the conversation into the right place and facilitate that booking and essentially increase conversions that way.
Very good points that you mentioned there. And I'd just like to highlight that WhatsApp piece. So what actually HiJiffy did before deploying the WhatsApp channel was an A/B test on WhatsApp versus email. And what we encountered there is simply down to open rates. Every one of us is familiar with email channel, but how many of those emails do you receive, do you ignore, can't look at a particular time? More importantly, it was an A/B test where we saw a 50% open rate on email as opposed to a 70% on WhatsApp. And with that as well, we've been able to drive over 35% in upselling opportunities. So a lot of exciting new things to come at the Athenaeum, and I look forward to seeing that happen as well. So looking at it from a different stance here, and I'd like to go back as well, Yogesh, to what you mentioned at the start of the conversation is the customer data platform and your experience and approach to the challenge and problem that you had there, firstly, and what was the rollout like of this customer data platform? So
speaking again to use cases and solving challenges, I mean, in hotels today, we have bits and pieces of the guest journey and guest data that sits in all of these systems. And the trouble is that they often don't speak to each other. They offer conflicting metrics and insights on things like ROI and revenue. And so what that means is that there's no single source of truth for guest intelligence or business performance. And so we started a project called the Dataneum, which is essentially the name that we gave to adopting our customer data platform. And before Dataneum, we were locked into this kind of soup of legacy systems with multiple versions of the truth. And you know how it goes, right? You have a reservation or multiple reservations for one guest because they book on different channels. You have incomplete and missing guest records, different and conflicting metrics. And so what we realized is that we needed to really understand our guests better, and we needed to get to that single source of truth. And so, you want to use AI to, do all of the kind of magic and the analysis for you, using machine learning and algorithms, so that essentially for us that we could get to this world of having dashboards that we could look at and ask meaningful questions of the data to try to find solutions in the right way. And that for us has led to a number of different opportunities and use cases being identified and solved. Speaking specifically to the rollout, I mean, using AI, for example, we got to these insights dashboards within 3 months when the kind of typical market turnaround is around 12 to 18. We were able to answer things like, who are our loyal guests? Can we put a number on loyalty? What channels do they typically book on? We took in 8 years worth of PMS data, and we cleaned and enriched and transformed it using AI, and then started to put that number on loyalty and understand, what are the booking trends and what are the booking patterns. We could then get to a place where we understood what's the difference between a leisure guest versus a corporate guest, and what channels are they typically booking on, and what rate codes are they typically booking on. For us, one of the things that it facilitated is, and this is just a side dish of the whole process, is to be able to then facilitate a move from a legacy PMS to a cloud-based PMS system, which typically is a major thing to do. And lastly, just in terms of rollout, one of the big things that we had was that we were able to then give the teams the ability to remove all of the manual processes of, we had insights reports that were being kind of put together on a monthly and sometimes weekly basis. Downloading reports, manually going through the whole thing in Excel, copying, pasting errors, and all the things that you could imagine going on. And what we got to was a place of automation, and we got to insights being delivered daily on demand as soon as we wanted to access them.
Fantastic. A lot of insights shared there. I hope you're all taking notes. It's super exciting. I tell a lot of my hoteliers today, they always expect, just deploy the chat and it'll do its thing. It doesn't really work like that. It's as good as the data you feed it. And I think the buzzword is still data as opposed to AI, because AI is in multiple facets. It's more important how you use the data that you have and that existing data that you empower the teams with that. So really good information there, Yogesh. And I'd really be now looking at more of that implementation and adoption of it. What would you look out for in general when it comes to an AI solution itself?
I would suggest by starting looking at the size and scope of the problem. What are the challenges that you're facing today? Try to gauge from your teams, within your commercial strategy meetings, perhaps. Try to understand what's top of mind. Are there challenges with trying to get to driving more revenue, driving more guest satisfaction? What are the kind of things that keep coming up? Are you moving systems because there's a legacy system and you've got to get your data out and move it to another? Are you moving PMS, for example? Are you looking for better data quality? And what kind of decision making are you trying to get to? And then the other thing I would say is that once you've identified all of those things, is to go on the market and look for the best-in-class solution providers. So in this process, I was lucky enough, having done quite a few months of analysis and looked long and hard on the market to find one of the best-in-class providers. And I would say that what you want to try and do is to find a vendor that is not a closed kind of black box system, that they're working with you and growing with you and adapting with you when your challenges arise. And so you want to be able to kind of grow with them and also have access to your data as well, because as you gain more insights and get access to more and more data, you want to be able to then start to build more and more insights and dashboards as you take that journey along.
Fantastic. And from our perspective, from a vendor's point of view, it's really important for us to assess and fathom out what are the challenges across the sector and how can we help. So automation levels, obviously, when we're looking at a conversation AI platform, are we answering 9 out of 10 of the questions? Are we reducing inbound queries? And are we saving time for teams? Those are your valuable skilled talent on site who are spending time with your guests, and are we helping them by saving them time as well? If we think of the PMS as the beating heart of the hotel, then essentially conversational AI is the beating heart of your guest communications. And this is where it's really important for us to make sure we've integrated with the different partners. I'm excited to see many of the partners today in the room today. So apologies if you're not up there, but you are close to heart as well. And it's only going to continue to improve from here. So we're always looking at expanding our integrations, looking at new use cases and approaches in which we should adopt our platform as well. And last but not least is make sure you get the right customer support. So hold Sean accountable, hold whoever you're speaking to accountable to make sure that you get the right account management, go through performance metrics, look at your KPIs, your return on investment, and get feedback from the team that they can actively share with vendors as well, so that you can continuously improve. It's a partnership that we see this opportunity as, and we can only learn from that feedback as well from a vendor side. Okay. So last but not least, I know we're close to short on time, but the learnings. I'd be keen to have both our panelists today, obviously, sharing some learnings. So what's one piece of advice, Sharon, that you'd give to hoteliers considering implementing new technologies to make the adoption a success?
I think it's a big education piece, especially with a team. You really need to get them on board before you go and you implement it. It works much better when everybody is feeding into, it worked much better for us when everybody started finally getting on board and feeding into the AI chatbot and treating it like a team member and teaching it, because it isn't a plug-and-play solution. And so if your team aren't on board and helping you out, then it's not going to work as well as it could. And it's well worth the investment because your chatbot doesn't call in sick and never takes holidays, so he's always there.
Fantastic. And yourself, Yogesh?
Look, I think when you're up on stage like this, sometimes you forget these tidbits that you want to share. So a piece of advice that I would give is to kind of communicate and network with industry peers and events like this. For me, it's the best way that I've found to bring fresh new ideas and innovative ideas into our roles. So if anybody wants to have a chat later on and talk about CDPs and guest data, I'm more than happy to do that.
Fantastic. So thank you so much, everyone, today for your time. We're open to questions as well, I believe, so feel free. I don't know if there's a mic somewhere at the back, but we'd love to have any questions. But from my side, I'm just, once again, thank you so much, Sharon and Yogesh, for joining us on stage. And feel free if there's any questions in the room. Don't be afraid. It's okay. Yes. Go ahead. Is there a mic or? Nope.
So just taking a step back, so you mentioned fear of AI. My fear is around the data security side. So it'd be interesting to talk around how you guys address data leakage, DLP, all that kind of stuff when you were rolling out AI.
I would say you're only as risky as your smallest leak, right? So if you don't protect your passwords and you don't protect your data in those small ways, then all of the big things that you do, like Amazon Web Servers and all the cybersecurity that you have at that level, it's not going to work. So for us, one of the big things was to make sure that the vendors that we choose have a data policy that we're adhering to, and making sure that within the business that those kinds of data leaks, whether it's a machine that's not that's accessible to the general public or a password that's being shared in the wrong way, that's that we have ways and means to deal with that.
And just to add on to that, we have experienced a number of hotels that have contacted us about data breaches, and actually we've helped them reach out to their guests in time across WhatsApp to inform them of the data breach and really make sure that obviously then if it's a false number asking for billing or invoicing and so on, that we're supporting them in that experience as well. So it's not just a virtual concierge environment, it's also informing your customers of a fire or alarm or data breach or whatever may have happened. Okay? I think that's about it. I think we're short on time, but thank you so much, everyone.